Hello and welcome to Uplift at Home. My name is Katherine Streit and I am the training coordinator at Uplift Center for Grieving Children. And today we are going to make a memorial at home for our person or people who have died. Now for me, I'm going to make a memorial for my grandma. She's really special to me and she died several years ago. Maybe you want to make a memorial for someone who's died recently in your life, or maybe it was someone who died a really long time ago or sometime in between. There's no right or wrong way to do grief, and so there's no right or wrong way to do a memorial either. It's only what feels right and true for you. All of our grief is going to be different and unique because we're different and unique people. Now, my grandma died several years ago, but we know that grief doesn't actually end. And so we're going to grieve the people who have died forever. And so we don't have to get over our grief or move on from it because we're going to grieve our people forever, just the way that we're never going to forget them and we're going to carry them with us for the rest of our lives. And so our memorial today is a way that we can sort of show their legacy and honor them and their memories and all that they mean to us right in our home. And so for me, there were a couple of things that I wanted to really do. So I know that lots of people like to make a memorial at home, maybe like on a mantle or like over a fireplace. And if you have that, that's so lovely. And if you want to make that your spot, go for it. But I don't have a mantle in my house and I live in an apartment, which is not very big. And so I decided that I was just going to use a little end table that was right next to my couch. I'm going to show it to you now. And that's where I'm going to have the memorial for my grandma. And so some of us might have things that we want to include, and some of us might not be sure what to include. And so for me, I really wanted to include a photo of my grandma. And I have this wonderful photo of when I was a baby and I'm lying on her tummy and she's looking down at me and she's smiling. But that photo is not printed out. It's just on my phone. And I don't have a printer. And so instead, I have to use the only photo that I actually have in my house. And this photo is of me and my grandma when I was a kid. You can see I'm just a little bit taller than her. And even though this isn't my favorite photo of her, what it helps me do is when I see it, it helps remind me that I can go on my phone and I can look for that favorite photo of my grandma and I together. And so I'm going to put this on our memorial just like this. Great. And so the other thing I thought about was something from the funeral or memorial service. Some of us might have something like that, and some of us might not. And so sometimes we get little cards like this, but I don't have one from my grandmother's funeral. This is actually from a different person in my life who has died. And so because I didn't have that, I wanted to put something else that was really special and important to me. And so sometimes we have things that are called linking objects. And so a linking object is anything that helps us feel really close and connected to our people who have died. For me, it's my grandmother. And so some of us have linking objects that maybe that person owned or they used to wear or they used to use, and that's wonderful. And some of us might not have those kinds of things. And so what I decided to do was I decided to look for one thing that I had of hers. I don't have a lot of things from her because we don't all have the same amount of things or type of things from our people who have died. But I do have one thing from her, and that's her journal. And so I can see all of her writing inside of it. And sometimes when I'm just really missing her and I'm having a lot of big feelings in my grief, I just maybe like to carry this around with me. Sometimes I put it in my backpack and just carry it, to the different things I do. Sometimes I like to read it, or sometimes I just like to kind of put it somewhere in my home so that I can feel close to her. And sometimes I just want to feel like she's nearby. And so that helps me do that. This is my special linking object. And so all of us have different kinds of linking objects. Maybe we don't have anything of the person who has died, and that's okay. And all the other linking objects I'm going to talk about next are actually things that they didn't have to have. it's things that we're going to be creative with. So I'm going to add this to the memorial. And so the next thing that I really wanted to include was something that she didn't have. My grandmother didn't have this, but she did have something like this. And so these are tissues. I think these are from CVS. And my grandmother didn't used to wear, she used to wear skirts, but they never had pockets. And so she used to always want to make sure she had enough tissues because she knew she was going to sneeze a lot. And so she would fold up her tissues and she would put it into the waistband, the elastic waistband of her skirts. And so because she didn't have pockets, her tissues would fall out of her skirt all the time. And when I was growing up, I could see which room in the house she had been in because the tissues were all over the floor by the end of the day. And so she, of course, didn't use this specific thing of tissues, but whenever I see tissues, I always think of her. And I loved this message on it, which says, believe in yourself. So I'm going to add this to my memorial. And the next thing I wanted to include was something that I made, actually, in honor of my grandma. And so sometimes people like to draw, which is wonderful. I really prefer to write. Whichever you like to do is really okay. There's no right or wrong way to do any of this. And so I decided to write a poem about my grandmother. And this is called an acrostic poem. And so for each letter of her name, we call my grandmother Nanny. That's our special name for her. Nanny. I wrote a different thing about her. And so for me, that was a way that I could keep some of her memories really close, because sometimes we might feel anxious or nervous that we're going to forget certain things about our people. And so I decided to make this poem. Sometimes people might like to draw a picture or maybe write about a special memory that they have. And there's really no right or wrong way to do this. Sometimes people just like to write rest in peace or just the person's name and decorate it. Again, there's no wrong way to do this. It's whatever feels right and true for you. So I think I'm going to try to stand this up and lean it up against the wall. As I build my memorial. So the other thing that I really wanted to include in my memorial is something about my relationship with my grandma. And so just because someone has died doesn't mean that our relationship with them has died. And so there's all sorts of ways that I stay really close and connected to my grandma. Sometimes I talk to her inside my head. Sometimes I talk to her out loud. Sometimes I write her letters. Sometimes I go to places where we used to spend time together. And sometimes I spend time with linking objects, like her journal, or I look at photos, or I think about the memories that we had. And so something that I wanted to make to sort of store some of those things was a memory box. Now, you can use any kind of box that you have lying around the house. For me, in my house, we were out of trash bags. And so this is also from CVS. And so I decided to decorate it a little bit. So I used a piece of construction paper and I just taped it to the sides. Some people might want to decorate it more. Some people might want to decorate it less. And I wrote, "Rest in peace, Nanny, gone but never forgotten." And I know sometimes we like to use like the cursive or fancy calligraphy when we make memorials. And so there are actually YouTube tutorials. You can watch a YouTube video and it can teach you how to make those cursive letters, which is really fun. So for me, what I wanted to do in my memory box was I really wanted to use this as a space to put the letters that I wrote to my grandmother. And so sometimes I write her letters where I tell her about things that have happened in my life since she's died. Sometimes I use these as times where I'm kind of asking her questions, and maybe like I ask her what I should do about something because I'm still figuring out a big decision in my life. And sometimes I'm just writing about a memory that we had together. And so I've decided that for me, the best way for this to work is to put my letter inside my special box, and I'm going to add that to my memorial. Whoops, I need to adjust something. There we go. The last thing that I wanted to say about that was that sometimes we might have people in our house who are not ready to see a memorial in our house to our people who have died. And so when that happens, sometimes it might be helpful to put all of our special linking objects in a memory box or in maybe a memory book so that we can keep it safe and we can keep it somewhere away. So that way people who aren't ready to see it don't have to see it, but we can go and look at it and spend time with those special items anytime we want to. And so the last thing that I really wanted to share was something that actually has nothing to do with my grandma. And so sometimes when I have really big feelings in my grief, I need to remember that I have people that I can talk to who I trust. And so the last thing I'm going to add to my memorial is something that reminds me of a really supportive person who I trust in my life, who's one of my friends. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little cough drop because she always gives me cough drops. And that's going to remind me that I have friends in my life who I can talk to. I have safe people who I trust. And so maybe we've found safe people and maybe we have not. And so, but we need to remind ourselves that we are not alone. And so however we do that is okay. There's no right or wrong way to make a memorial. And so the important thing to remember is that just because someone has died does not mean our relationship with them has died. Thank you so much for watching Uplift at Home today. We'll see you next time.